guys, welcome back to the channel. And I would be remiss if I didn't delve into the recently announced Haslab Unicron. And while everybody has an opinion, there is an argument for getting him and an argument against getting him. And we're going to try and take the middle road here today. This has nothing to do about me or my opinion. As a matter of fact, I'm just the mediator today. Because kind of arguing the side for, kind of going in and backing Unicron, we have GotBot. And thank you very much, my most esteemed moderator. But arguing against backing such an enormous figure, we have Dennis. Wait, we're really doing this? This is what we're doing. We're actually having this discussion. You're moderating. You're arguing for this, and you actually want me to argue against it. Okay? Okay. All right, I'll argue against it. Why not? And somewhere in between, I guess you'll make your own choices in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, I'm your host Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot, and today I'm the mediator between both of these guys, who are both a part of me. This might get a little bit confusing. Please, like, comment, share, of course, subscribe while you're at it. That's right, we can all agree that it's a good idea to hit the bell to get those notifications when new content goes up. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, and the Autobot family, and have a look for me everywhere across social media. And recently announced, just this week, just before SDCC, was Haslab's Unicron, and really we kind of have a few discussions that we've sort of got to get out of the way, and this is kind of like part one. I want to kind of give an objective look at all of the kind of arguments for and against Unicron, and that's why we have two different camps. I'm going to do a separate discussion about my reaction to third-party reveals from TFCon, and sort of what I think that might mean for like collectors, especially third-party collectors going forward. And I want to do a third video that will discuss kind of everything else from SDCC Transformers-wise outside of this. But Unicron kind of deserved his own video, and everybody has an opinion on him. I get it. I do too. And I feel like that the Chaos Bringer has actually brought a lot of chaos this time around, which I suppose is kind of fitting. But unfortunately, it seems like it's creating a divide within the fandom, and I do find that troubling. We all love, this same franchise. We're all fans, wherever we come from. I mean, I'm not a fan of Unicron Trilogy, but I know a lot of people are. I'm not a fan of the, last 10 years worth of comics, but I know a lot of people are, and that's cool. We all come from different places, but we can all agree on one thing, that we love this franchise. It's something that we enjoy. Young, old, man, woman, adult, child, whatever. But I feel like that there's been a real kind of line drawn in the sand when it comes to Unicron. So, we're going to begin by me giving a couple of disclaimers, kind of listing a few things that are facts that was in like the information dump coming out from the company themselves, so things that are facts, and a little bit about sort of the history of why I think this is sort of coming now, and then we're going to go into all of the kind of arguments for and then all of the arguments against. And I will say this, I tirelessly kind of scoured social media, all forms of social media, loads and loads of forums and fan pages to try and amass arguments for both sides here that are pretty comprehensive. I'm sure I've missed some because so much has been said on this, but I think it's pretty comprehensive. And all I'm trying to do here is present you guys with information so that you can make your own decision if you think that this is up your alley and worth it or not. So, first things first, the disclaimer. This is not my opinion. Neither for nor against is my personal opinion. I don't plan to give my personal opinion because I know that it's such a hot button, hot topic issue. Secondly, I'm hoping that what will be accomplished here is a full overview of the the objective and subjective arguments that have been made for backing him, and the objective and subjective arguments that have been made against backing him. And I want to kind of leave you with the idea, and you'll notice I have sheets here, with the idea that you should make your own choice. I always want you to make your own choice, obviously, but I think it really extra holds true this time around. Okay, so the groundwork. In 1986, as we all know, Unicron, voiced by the late great Orson Welles, was introduced in the animated movie, and he was a planet eater. He is the Chaos Bringer, the planet eater, the Lord of Chaos, whatever you want to call him. He's all of these things, and he is the biggest threat that the Transformers, Autobot and Decepticon, ever faced. And there was even at least a prototype for a G1 toy, and the argument was that it never got released because it was too expensive to make. People wouldn't buy it. So it never got made, though it is kind of a Transformers oddity, and it sort of deserves a place of honor, maybe in like a Transformers museum. We fast forward many years to the Unicron trilogy, and we did get a version of Unicron there that I think a lot of people, at least at the time, were happy with. That, of course, being the Supreme Class Unicron. Yes, he wasn't perfect, but he was big, and at the time, perhaps one of the biggest, unless you go back to Fort Max and G1 days. And then we got Primus along with him, about the same size, a little bit smaller. But we had Unicron and Primus finally, and they were huge and imposing. And we even got a couple of repaints of Primus. We got a lot of repaints of Unicron. Most recently, I believe, was last year. We got one, Platinum one, 30 years of the movie. Maybe it was a couple of years ago now that came out. But pretty recently. But once we started getting Titans like Fortress Maximus, Metroplex, Triptychon, and so on and so forth, there was a minority group of people that really became super vocal and said, we need a Titan-class Unicron. And some people said, no, we need a 4-foot Unicron. Some said, we need a 6-foot Unicron. And then somebody apparently did the math, and it worked out that for a Unicron to scale, based on the height of the Titan toys that we have, he would have to be something like 3 miles long. Like, it was like an impossible amount. And we all know that scale has never been a friend to this franchise. We just work the best with what we have and kind of hope that that's good enough. That being said, it is impossible to scale a planet. And a lot of people said, even if you go 4 feet, where are you going to put it? Most people would not be able to put that anywhere. Wow, that thing would probably have to cost $1,000. I don't know. And then, from out of nowhere, we get an announcement that we're going to be getting a crowd-funded option from Haslabs for Unicron. And this brings me to the kind of facts that have been released about him. They know at Hasbro that there's been a demand for an updated Unicron for a long time. And this is what they are suggesting is a suitable offering for that update. He will be 27 inches tall, 68.58 centimeters, 30-inch diameter with his rings, or 26.20 centimeters. So whether you display him in robot mode or planet mode, he is going to take up substantial real estate. Without his rings, just the orb itself is 15.8 inches or 39.90 centimeters. He has 50 points of articulation, including movable teeth, jaw, and eyes, including his planet-eating jaw in planet mode, being able to open and close. He has posable planetary rings that I think are posable in planet mode, if I'm not mistaken. And he comes with a custom stand. With the stand, apparently he stands 29.6 inches, or 75 centimeters. He will weigh 19 pounds, evidently. He is extremely detailed in terms of his line work and molding, with evidently lots of paint. He is hyper accurate to the 1986 film. He will be created, or awakened if you will, if there are 8,000 backers by August the 31st of 2019 at a retail price of $574.99 USD. Taxes included. Apparently that comes out to be more in the vicinity of $620 to $625 USD. I don't know anything about the shipping in the United States. But that's the facts as they stand. Now, that's our background, that's our facts. Let's look at all of the arguments next for getting this guy. So I'm going to defer things now to GotBot. He actually forgot to mention a couple of the facts. If this guy is produced, he will be the largest Transformer ever, both in weight and in height, knocking Fortress Maximus right out of contention. As well, the, I suppose, joke has been made, but it is fitting for the character, and if you're a true fan, it's fitting for you that you don't own Unicron. Unicron owns you. And last but not least, it has been stated that he will move methodically. I would guess, I would hope that that means he's full, chock full of ratchets. Beautiful, gorgeous, full, clicky ratchets. And you know that they would be tolerance perfect. Come on, for something like this, they're going to put their best foot forward. Now, that being said, as a service to you guys, I went and I scoured everything that I could possibly find to kind of put together a list of all the reasons why backing the Haslab Unicron would be a good idea. They're not necessarily in an order here. I'm going to kind of go down through them. Hopefully this will make sense as we go along. I have them all written here. So bear with me, but this is everything to do with why you might want to kind of go in on Unicron. The very first thing is, as a Transformers fan, let's be honest, having a figure of Unicron this massive is not only the centerpiece of a display, but it's a dream figure come true that fans have been asking for years. And while the mold of the Armada one, even when it was redone to be more G1, while that's fine as a stand-in, let's be honest, man, it never really did fit the bill, did it? You know, it was all right, but like when we have things like Metroplex and Fort Max, we need a Unicron that is even imposing over them. That's the only way it makes sense, man. It's the only way it makes sense. His presence, because of his height alone, would be something else that would make him that centerpiece. You know, there's nothing that could compare to him. When we talk about his height and his weight and his presence, we also have to consider that, you know what, there's a lot of extra material used there, a lot of extra paint, a lot of extra detail that got to be put into the molds. You're going to use more plastic pellets to create those molds. It is what it is. You have more materials used, it's going to be a higher cost. The production got to be covered. It's as simple as that. We're also covering the kind of input and work and detail and love that was put in here by artists, by designers, by engineers. So I mean, all of them kind of have to be. We have to give a tip of the hat to them, and we do that by supporting this project. Hasbro is a company. They're looking to make money, man. It is what it is. They're looking to have profit margins. They have to keep those profit margins if they want to be viable going into the future. So you need to, kind of ensure that you have a certain amount of coverage here that makes sense for the production to occur. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial viable sense. Additionally, a smaller production run means that the costs are higher. You're not making this for mass retail. You're making this for the hardcore, dedicated collector. In fact, the argument could be made that it's worth your while to back a few of these, because in the aftermarket they're sure to sell for higher than what this price is going to be. The price is never going to be lower than what it is right now from Haslab. It's only going to go up and up and up in the aftermarket. And where's the proof of this? Well, look at what has happened with the Jabba's sail barge. That thing goes for crazy money in the aftermarket, even though it was expensive at the time. And yes, people did have to kind of carry that debt for a while, but some of them have probably, been able to sell the extras for such profit that they, in the end, kind of paid very little for their Jabba's barge. And if people were willing to go in at a much higher cost for Jabba's barge, why wouldn't they go in at a much higher cost for Unicron? After all, let's be honest, Unicron is going to be everyone's holy grail. It's funny, there was a holy grail video that I done recently where I kind of count down my 10 holy grails, and they picked my grail of grails. Now, even the understanding of a holy grail is different among people. I get that, man. But I think that anybody who has the Haslab Unicron will say, this is my holy grail, it has to be. There's nothing else that can ever, measure up to this. Simple as that. After all, he's a once-in-a-lifetime purchase, right? So why not indulge? After all, for a lot of us, we don't have other interests. Like, we don't, go on trips. We're not into sports or any of this sort of stuff. Our interest lies in Transformers. So this is that, that once-in-a-lifetime purchase. It's not like you're going to buy him again, because he's not going to be offered again. This is your one window. The next few weeks is your one window to get in at the ground level with Unicron. And getting in at that ground level ensures you that you're going to have the best Unicron ever. Yeah, sure, we still have the Armada mold. Yeah, sure, maybe there will be kind of pretenders to the throne that'll pop up someday with third party or something. But to have all of these features that this guy has, this is the only way to do it. And whatever comes along, yeah, it might be fine, but it's not going to be the Haslab Unicron. This is a perfect example of Hasbro doing their absolute best for you and me. They're putting out their best designers, their best engineering, their best materials. This is, a War for Cybertron Siege figure. Everybody knows that the War for Cybertron Siege figures have been like the best that company has done in years, right? So why would Unicron be any different? I'm guessing that even in the final run, we'd probably see a lot of little spots on him for special effects, which would be fantastic for like a big battle scene with him at the center of it, Besides, when we talk about cost, we also have to consider just the packaging. We need a bigger box, we need bigger packaging to hold him securely until he's safely in your hands. The shipping is, it is what it is, it's expensive. We're talking about something that's 19 pounds. It's, it's a big ticket item, like a piece of furniture. That's what this is. It's like buying like a piece of furniture. You have to be able to look at it from that regard. This is a major lifetime investment purchase. That's what this is. It's not just going out to your local retail and picking up a leader class figure. No, this is a major life purchase, and it needs to be kind of looked at with the respect that deserves. The guy looks beautiful, stunning. In planet mode he looks stunning. In robot mode he looks stunning. And really, if you can look on it and say, there's the beauty that I've always wanted, then maybe there's the value for you. I mentioned how this is a Siege toy. But you know what? Here's the other thing. If you're an MP collector, this is probably also the closest that we're ever going to get to a masterpiece version of Unicron as well. Let's be realistic. It is what it is, right? This is the be-all and end-all of Unicrons. In fact, if this guy succeeds, for the rest of the masses, maybe they would do sort of a dumbed-down, simplified version, remove a lot of the gimmicks and stuff, and put a lower-cost version, out at retail as a Titan. That could happen. Maybe the regular retail one, only has a base pin knuckle for his fingers. Maybe the regular retail one only has, a head that doesn't have a moving jaw. Maybe his eyes don't move, you know? But, like, it's not the Haslab one, but, like, it's alright. Nevertheless, even if you would be alright with that, knowing that the Haslab one exists, knowing that that perfection exists, I don't know. To some people, I don't think it would fill the bill enough for them because they know that there's something better out there. Besides, when we look at the cost, yeah, sure, it's a high price tag, and I said that you have to respect it as a major purchase, but you know what? Collectors go out and they buy things like third-party combiners, you know, all the time, and by the time you get all of those pieces together, I know it might take a couple of years, but by the time you get them all together and you put them together, guess what? You got a $500 figure. Unicron's a $500, well, $600 figure, but you get the idea. Like, it's comparable. So if you're into like the kind of high-end MPs, or maybe the high-end statues, 'cause some of them go for a pretty penny too. Like, is Unicron really that much of a jump? You know, isn't he in the same ballpark if you're that type of collector? I would think that he is. People also spend that kind of money on things like jewelry or trips. You know, I mentioned furniture, but like things like jewelry or trips or tech, you know, like people spend that sort of stuff like on a, you know, like on a smartphone or a computer, you know. If you're going to spend it on that, then, you know, you spend it on other luxury items. This is a luxury item. Why not? Plus, you know that when you see them there, that you're going to be happy with them. And the engineering is probably the best that they've ever done. Now, some people will talk about, hey, KOs or third parties. But let's be honest, if the guy isn't produced, then we're not going to get KOs, we're not going to get, well, we might get third parties, but like, come on, they're not going to do what's being done here. It's not going to be the same, it's not going to have that much detail, and it's probably still going to be pretty expensive because we know that third party doesn't typically do deals. As for the KO, I don't see it happening. I don't see... you know, this isn't just one of your run-of-the-mill figures. This is like a very special edition, high-end elite type of thing. I don't see it happening. It's not going to get KO'd. And sure, the window to pre-order is small, but let's not forget that the guy isn't going to be released until 2021. Even if you like use a credit card or something now. I mean, you can pay it off, you know, after they charge you, you know, like you just have to make sure that either the money is there or the credit is there. You can save from now until the end of August, you know, sacrifice and kind of do what you need to do so that you have the money there, or at least part of the money. Even if it goes on something like a credit card, for example. Well, if you've already saved, I don't know, half of what he costs, you can throw that right down the credit card. When you get another paycheck, you can throw the other half down and boom, he is done. Or if you're okay with, you know, carrying a little bit of interest on your credit card, I mean, you could pay it off like with kind of equal installments to yourself for a year, you know? Yes, you're going to pay more than what the retail is because of interest, but like you get to do it in smaller chunks, and that's probably a lot more palpable for a lot of people. I know it certainly would be a lot more palpable for me. But, you know, that's just it. Here's the thing. The best argument for doing this at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not it's equivalent to other things, regardless of whether or not it has all of these features, regardless of if it be the centerpiece of your collection, and regardless of any of the arguments about, you know, profit margins or cost of production or anything, here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. Would you be happy having him? Would he bring joy to your life? And how much is your happiness worth? Wow. Wow. GotBot, that's a lot of compelling arguments. I mean, I do like the look of him. The paint looks stunning. The molded in detail looks stunning. He makes me smile. I get it. I think that was compelling. I don't know if you guys thought it was compelling, but that's the arguments that we have so far for backing Unicron. And you know what? When you look at the facts, and then you look at yourself as a collector, and you look at the benefits of backing the guy, it's a compelling argument for sure. Now, that being said, of course, that's only one side of the coin, and if we're going to be fair here, then we have to look at the other side of the coin. And playing devil's advocate, in that case, pardon the pun there, is going to be none other than Dennis. You know what? I had a feeling that something like this was going to happen. I had a feeling we were going to have this debate. So I went and I looked all over forums and all forms of social media and everywhere that I could find. I wanted to prepare myself with all of the arguments. Some of these are objective. Some of these are subjective, admittedly. But everything that's against backing this, everything that says that this Haslab Unicron is a bad idea. And they're not in like any real kind of order, but okay, all right. So first things first, taxes in. This thing is going to be like $620, $625 US for a toy. Like, it's an idiotic price for a toy. It makes no sense in the world at all. It makes no sense. It's a toy. It's a toy. If you look at that price and you convert it to Canadian and you look at the shipping and the import and the taxes, the price in Canadian dollars is, the estimates have been somewhere between $905 and $935. So we're not talking, you know, $600 here necessarily for a toy. Not in my neck of the woods. In my neck of the woods, we're talking $1,000 for a toy. $1,000. Let's put that in perspective, at least from like my point of view. That's the equivalent to 1 month's mortgage payment, car insurance payment, and a nice night out for myself and Starscream wife. For a toy, for a chunk of plastic. No. No. Then I've heard people say, well, if you want Unicron bad enough, you got to sacrifice. I sacrificed for like my car, for my house, for retirement savings and investments. I don't sacrifice for a toy. It's a hobby. It's enjoyment. Why are you sacrificing for a toy? If you're sacrificing for a toy, maybe you need to look at your buying priorities. Just saying. I don't think it's worth sacrificing for a toy. Maybe you do. I just don't see it. Here's the other thing. You're paying this kind of money, and it is a figure that's labeled as Siege War for Cybertron. First, it doesn't seem to have anywhere on it to put those little blast effects. So is it really part of that? Secondly, if it's a War for Cybertron Siege figure, then it's made to that standard. It's not like it's an MP quality figure. It is what it is. I mean, the company is in it to make money. They're willing to offer this at a limited production run. At the end of the day, if it don't get produced, they don't care. They're going to be making profit anyway. But hey, if they can make more profit, why not? I mean, when the idea came up years and years ago, like in G1, and they said it's too expensive to produce, nobody will buy it. Okay, so what makes it different then to now? Because inflation has gone up, cost of living and prices have gone up, and they tend to go up, sociologically speaking, at a rate of like 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, while income tends to go up at a ratio of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The cost of living is far outstripping the rate that income rises, so why would it be more affordable to produce it now? Or is it that they feel like they have enough history behind them, that fans are hardcore enough that, yeah, they're willing to pay anything to have what they want? Just saying. And look, when we talk about scale, let's be realistic. It's impossible to have a toy that's going to scale as a planet. So you want something that looks all right as an orb for the character on your shelf somewhere. For a lot of people, they have the Primus figure as their version of Cybertron. They have the Armada Unicron as their version of Unicron. A lot of times they're kind of put next to each other, and they look fine as planets. They're the only two in my collection that I have in alt mode, and they're fine. Perfect? No. Fine? Sure. Sure. Plus, if you were to get this new Haslab Unicron, if you're anything like me, wouldn't you be hungry for a Primus as well? So once this finally comes out, and we've had a couple of more years of inflation and increased costs, if they announced a Primus, isn't that probably going to be at even a higher price tag? And isn't that going to be one that you also have to get so that you have, you know, those two next to each other? I think that if you're going to invest in Unicron, you have to prepare yourself for that cost or more in order to get Primus to go with them. I got my Armada Unicron for $67 Canadian. When you look at the total price Canadian for this new Unicron, it is 13.5 times more expensive. 13.5. I don't know if I see 13.5 times the value. Yes, don't get me wrong, there's definitely more value. And when you compare it to a regular Titan, there's definitely more value. But is it that much more value? As a matter of fact, when we look at the most recent offering of the Unicron repaint, it went for, I believe, $169.99 US dollars. This one is $575 US dollars. That is 3.5 times more expensive than the most recent release of that like retooled Unicron mold from Armada. The one that looks more G1. Is the offering from Haslab 3.5 times more? Is it 3.5 times better? I don't know. I mean, that's for you to decide. I don't see it because it's a toy. But I like, if you see it, hey, like if you see the value, great. I wish I could see the value. You know, to be fair though, you know, I don't see the value in jewelry. To me, it's fancy rocks. I don't see the value in fancy electronics. I just get whatever phone is zeroed down and goes rolled into my bill. I'm not paying money for a phone. That's ludicrous. Why would you do that? I don't get these high-end purchases that a lot of other people get. I just don't understand the mindset behind it. But that's me. That's not me. That's not on anybody else. Because everybody, you know, it's your dime, man. You work hard for your money. You're entitled to spend it however you see fit. Just because I don't see the value don't mean you don't see the value. It's just, ask yourself, is it 3.5 times better than the most recent offering of that other mold? If you got the Armada one and you paid about what I did, remember, $67 Canadian, is this 13.5 times better? No. Look, a KO or a third-party company can make a Titan-sized Unicron, whether they upsize the old Armada mold, whether they make their own version, that will be just fine. Will it necessarily have movable eyes? Maybe not, but who cares? Will it necessarily have movable teeth? Why are you moving his teeth? What are you doing with his teeth? The opening, like, planet-eating jaws, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. I'll give credit where credit is due. Do you need 3 joints per finger? I mean, they're saying 50 points of articulation, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 15, that means 30 of those 50 joints are in his hands. That only leaves 20 joints for the rest of this 27-inch tall figure. Not amazing, it's just your regular articulation with fancy hands. Nothing more. Okay, something more, because you got teeth that move and you got eyes that move. I guess that's 2 more points, which leaves, instead of 20 points for the rest of the figure, that now leaves, at best, what, 18 points? You know, you're going to get a shoulder, you're going to get a bicep swivel, you're going to get an elbow, you're going to get knees, maybe ratchet out to the side, maybe ratchet forward. I don't know if the hip skirts move, I assume they do. I don't know how far back it's going to go. He got some pretty bad kibble back there, but we're going to talk about that in a second. I assume he has ankle rocker and tilt forward and back and a thigh rotation. I mean, it's going to have the average outside of his hands, his eyes, and his teeth. It is what it is. They also have given this ridiculously short pre-order. It's not a chance for anybody to save anything. How many people just have 600 US sitting around? Man, I got nothing better to do. I don't have any bills. I don't have any savings that I need to worry about. I'm not saving up for a house. I'm not trying to pay off a wedding. I'm not trying to pay off my car or my student loans. Nah, I just got 600 US dollars sitting around to spend on a toy. Even if you're financially responsible, most people that can afford it, do they want to afford it? Now, here's the thing. A lot of people that are backing this have said, oh, too bad you're poor. Or they've said, oh, too bad, you know, your spouse isn't letting you get it. What a shame. I'll look at myself. My wife is called Starscream wife, and in our vows she said, I accept that you're going to fill our house with Transformers. She's all for my collection. She's all behind me. I can't afford this. It's just that it's in no way, shape, or form worth it. It's not worth it. And the more I see, the less I like it. Why do I like it less? Don't get me wrong. The molded in detail and the paint looks great, but I've seen it in one static pose. The same pose all the time. I assume that there are ratchets. I hope there are ratchets in all those joints. And I guess you can move them, but how hard is he to move and manipulate at the weight and at the size? Can he even stand up on his own? Because I haven't seen, I get that you need the stand for the robot bot or for the planet, but like I've only seen him with the stand for the robot. Can the dude not stand up on his own? Can he not support his own weight? I could believe it because he has this huge backpack on his back, and I get it, man. The backpack gotta, like, the planet part's gotta go somewhere, but like, there's no way they could have flattened, for the price, there's no way they could have flattened the backpack out some? Because it's still like half a planet on his back. He looks like a hunchback. And then down on his shins, you have an obvious bunch of panels folded up. When I see his shins, I think the same sort of panel folding that we have on the MP Beast Wars Megatron. And there's a lot of panels that fold up there. I get it, it's sort of ingenious, but it does kind of make the calves on the guy, unless you're looking at him front on, unsightly. And I get it, man. A lot of people have said, oh, because I'm going to be displaying my Unicron from the side, or turned around so I'm looking at it from the back. If all you care about is the front-on view because you're going to put them on the shelf, fine. Maybe you're not a toy collector. Maybe you're an art collector. Or maybe you like mainstream toys and you like high-end things. So maybe you're a mix of an art collector for the high-end things and a toy collector. But I don't think that just your average toy collector is going to be in for this Unicron, because it's not for a toy collector. It's for a high-end art collector. It's a completely different type of collector. For somebody like me, I look at this Unicron and I want to know what the conversion is like. I want to know what the articulation is like, because right away I look at it and think, I'm going to need to use him for stop motion. If he's not going to be functional for that, then what's the point? There's something to be said here too for the space. Does everybody even have the space? Even if you've got the funds and the money to have this guy, do you have the space to display him? Maybe you have little kids in your household and you're like, what if they tip him over and break him? You know, like it's space, or it's where you live, how you live, and your kind of personal finances, and the way you collect. I guess you could say there's a lot that goes into thinking about this guy. I guess an argument could also be made for the idea of like corporate greed. Is he really this much to produce? Some people would say, yeah, it is, and I get it. I think that he's definitely more than your regular run-of-the-mill Titan. He is heavier, there is more to him. But is he that much more? I don't know. And if he is that much more, shouldn't like worldwide shipping at least be free? Now some people say, no, of course not, because he's so heavy. Well, maybe that's something that the manufacturer should have considered before they ever came up with this guy. For me, I look at it and I think, here's $1,000 I could have used for something better. Anything is better than that. And a lot of people that are backing him have said, he is so stunning and brings me so much joy. And when I see him, I don't see joy. I just see sadness. I see people like in debt, or for me, let's say it wouldn't even be in debt. You got the money. Okay, but when you look at it on the shelf, you're just looking at another toy on the shelf. It is what it is. And while he has a presence, at the end of the day, he's still a hunk of plastic that you're going to have to go over and just, dust off. And because of the complexity, most people are probably only going to transform him once, if ever, because can you imagine if you broke him? It's not like you can replace him. The option probably wouldn't even be there to replace him. And beyond that, the argument could be made that he doesn't belong to collectors. He belongs in a Transformers museum. I think he should exist. I don't know if he should exist in people's homes. Even if you can look past the fact that he needs a stand, that he has a huge hunchback backpack, and that he has big panels on his legs. If you're all about the front, that's great. That's wonderful. But do you really want to sacrifice, because I've heard that word thrown around, do you really want to sacrifice to buy him? Is that really what you want to do? Like, you value him that highly? I don't know. Maybe you do. Here's the thing about the backpack that gets to me. It means the dude's going to be a shell former. It is what it is. He is a $600 shell former. Okay, whatever. No thanks. I had enough trouble putting the, like the Darth Vader Death Star dude into his planet mode. Enough that he's in Death Star mode and he doesn't come out of it because I don't know if he'll ever be able to get back in it. He will retain value like the sail barge. No, he won't. That's ridiculous and idiotic to say. He is not going to retain the value like the sail barge for three reasons. One, Star Wars collectors are perhaps the most hardcore fan base that there has ever or will ever be. I think that they're more prone to going in on these high-end items, and they don't get as many of these high-end items come around. So it is something very special. Two, if people don't want to go in on the Haslab cost right now, they are not going to be paying you double the cost because of your greed to sell the extra one that you scalped. Three, there's a lot of people that will wait for some sort of a KO or third-party offering, something that I don't think Star Wars fans generally get, but Transformers fans get all the time. And they will buy that one and say, yeah, okay, he doesn't have this feature and this feature, but I'm okay with that because he only cost me $400 CAD or $300 CAD. Some people have also said, hey, they're going to put their best foot forward this time. Really? Do you think, is that what you really believe? You really think Hasbro, as a company trying to make money, has the consumer's best interest at heart, or as a business, do they have their profit margins at heart? I'm going to say they have their profit margins, and they're just going to do what they have to do to fulfill it to make it look good. Simple as that. But that's not really a knock against them. That's what any business would do. That's how business works. They try and offer you something that, you know, is, I guess, cheap for them to make, but that they can convince you is worth that value. And sometimes we all buy in. I mean, let's be realistic. It is what it is. If you buy in here, that's up to you. I mean, everybody has a different value, man. Everybody has a different value. Some people have said, you know, I'll do this now. I have a long time to pay it off. That's great. You also have a long time that a lot of things can happen in your life before this guy's released. You could move. You could lose your home. You could pass away. You could end up with, you know, a situation where I can't even accept this guy. I don't know. Can you imagine if you paid for this now and before he released, like, something happened and you passed away? That means he'll be shipped to your house and, like, your family is stuck with this thing. Do what with it? I don't know. Do what with it? Sell it on the aftermarket? Good luck. Some people have said that this is a reward for, I don't know, finishing school or getting a raise or getting a job, and I get that. Everybody likes a reward, but are you aiming a little small? If you have, you know, kind of that much free disposable income, why don't you reward yourself with something bigger, a trip or a car? You know, I don't know, just something that is probably actually worth big ticket money. Then people will point out things like third-party combiners. Fine. Third-party combiner might be kind of equalish in value, but that's probably released over 2 or 3 years, a figure at a time, and you pay, say, $100 a pop instead of all at once within the next 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think you can compare the two. It's kind of not in the same ballpark at all. Not unless you're going out and buying that combiner, all pieces, all at once. Then maybe it is in the same ballpark. But generally, for most purchasers, they would divide it up over time. Now, you could compare it to things like the high-end statues, the super detailed statues. But here's the thing about those statues. They're not a figure, they're an art piece. You're buying an art piece. So, if you're looking at this Unicron, don't call yourself a toy collector, because you're not. You're an art collector, and that's a completely different thing. Don't confuse the two. And maybe you shouldn't try and encourage toy collectors to spend their hard-earned money on it. I feel like I've seen a lot of people saying, yeah, you should definitely go in on it. Why? If they're not an art collector but a toy collector, then this is not a usable toy. It's a beautiful piece of art, but that's all that it is. Look, here's the bottom line. I respect the figure. I respect that people want to go in and back it. I respect that it exists. And I respect everybody's right to kind of choose what they value in their own life, with their own money, in their own purchasing power. That's great. And you know what? You got to do what works for you, man. I mean, we've already heard a bunch of arguments for this guy. But at the end of the day, it boils down like this. You have to realize the type of collector that you are, if you're going to go in on this. And for as great as everything is, there is no way that I can justify this sort of price tag for this figure. I feel like the question being asked is this: are you all right justifying to Hasbro that yes, it's okay that you charge me this amount of money for a toy? If you back it, then you're telling them, yes, it's okay if you charge me. This is a reasonable price for you to charge me for a toy. And they're only going to try to do it again, because that's the way business works. And once they have the mold created, don't you think that they'll easily do another Haslab, like, repaint? And be like, hey, you can fund it again. They'll have the mold then. Or are you the sort of person that you look at it and you say, I can't condone to that corporation the price that they're asking. I need to look at them and say, no, I'm sorry, but this is not an okay price for you to charge. You need to go back to the drawing board and you need to do better. You need to do right by the fans that have been loyal to you for 30 years. Okay, all right, whatever you say, man. Oh, come on, tell me that you don't want him. I know what camp you're in, GotBot. I get it. You're all for backing the dude. But I just can't wrap my head around the logic of it. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. What about you? What do you think? Yeah, what do you think? Wow, that's a lot of disdain for a pretty fantastic toy. I mean, GotBot made a pretty compelling argument. It is a dream come true. You know, it's going to bring a lot of people a lot of joy, but it is expensive, like really expensive, and it's going to set a precedent of that this is okay. And is it really okay? What do I think? Quintessons, what do you guys think?
Most guilty of any figure in any line ever. However, even us Quintessons couldn't plan this project any better.
Wow. You guys were no help at all. Like, the Quintessons were absolutely no help. Look, GotBot, Dennis, I see both sides of this. Here's the thing. Yes, I think it's beautiful. I think it's amazing. I think it's a dream come true. Yes, I also think that it has a pretty bad side profile and a pretty bad back profile. And I don't think I'm okay telling any company that they can charge me an exorbitant amount of money for anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm cheap. I don't know. I respect that the thing exists. I respect the people that support it. I also respect the people that feel like they just can't go in on it, whether they can't afford it, can't do it, aren't allowed, or simply just don't see the value. There's definitely two sides here, and both of them are valid. I'm a little bit GotBot. I'm a little bit Dennis. I'm in the middle. And I guess I'm torn. I don't know. Where's the love for Cookie Monster? He's a project too. Anyway, at the end of the day, I don't know if there's really a definitive answer. You're going to have to look inside yourself and see what it is that you value. I know it seems like a deep question to ask about a toy, but I think that's where we're to with this current dilemma. You know, I love to hear from you guys, though I am sure that a lot of people are highly opinionated about this. I do appreciate you dropping by, giving me some of your very valuable time. Like I said, I can see both sides of this. I myself am torn on both sides of this. I don't know. We're all fans. Can't we all just be happy together? I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your very valuable time. Again, I'm going to say please hit that subscribe button. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there is a donate link down in the description. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together and have another visit, either in the live streams or right here inside the videos.